yeah. This is the outline with Kevin Dwayne. Kevin Dwayne. Kevin Dwayne with Kevin Dwayne.
Happy Wednesday. It is hump day, which means it's time for the outline. I am Kevin Dwayne. Thank you so much for listening. This is episode 10. This is going to be our questions and answers episode where I will select questions that you guys have sent me on Instagram, on Facebook, in my email, which is the outlinetopics@gmail.com. I went through them, because we're not going to answer all of them. We're going to select the ones that are appropriate for this show. Not that there's limits, but some of y'all want to know too personal as shit. So we just going to skip those questions, and I apologize. But we'll get to that later in the show. But remember, you can listen to this podcast on SoundCloud, on iTunes, on Stitcher, Google Play Music, and on my website, kevindwayne.com. Thank you for liking it. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting. I love the network that I have created with other podcasters and my listeners. I have so many day one people who have followed me back from YouTube in 2009 all the way through now, and I really, really appreciate the kind words. Special listener shout out to Sean, Corey, and Lonnie. You all know your last names, but you guys have all said really dope things to me about this podcast, and I want to let you know that it means a lot knowing that, you guys are connecting. So thank you so much for that, and let's move forward. So life is still busy. I'll go ahead and blame Mercury being in retrograde, which that ends tonight at 10 p.m. on the West Coast, if I'm not mistaken. So Mercury is almost done with this goddamn retrograde. If you don't know what that means, it affects communication and technology. And let me tell you, the way these last few weeks have been, I believe that shit. And as it goes regular tonight, I can already feel the difference happening because work is a little easier. Things aren't breaking as much. And I'm just so happy. But what has been getting me through all of this busyness and craziness at work and me just feeling like my head's about to explode, well, there's Jim Beam, and then there's the show Good Times. Right now, I'm binge watching Good Times, and here's why. In my life, I've seen most of those shows because that's a show that will forever be in syndication. It's the first black sitcom. It's always going to be in syndication on somebody's channel. But on the Stars app, they have the whole show. And I was like, I've never watched this in order. So I'm going to watch it in order. And that's what I've been doing for the last week or so. I've just been binge watching Good Times. And when I tell you the formula is hilarious, the show itself was very funny. I am cracking up over here, like as an adult, at some of the things that happen. But then I realized how far we have come when it comes to African Americans on television. That show, the formula was very simple. You have this family that's pretty much poor. They can barely afford meat. They can't even afford meat. When they get meat, it's like a big deal. Most of the time, they're just eating sides, and they're always going through a series of bad luck. So the show always starts with, okay, the patriarch, or he ends up, losing another job. So they don't know how they're going to pay rent. Okay, cool. Then something positive happens, or some kind of offer comes, and they're like, oh yeah, I got this offer, I'm gonna get this job. And then they prematurely celebrate. Then something falls through with that offer, and then they're sad again because they can just never get over, and they can never get over the hump. And then they're thankful that they are still a family and they have love. And that's how the show is every goddamn episode. And let me tell you, season 3 is where I'm at now towards the end, and the seasons are long as fuck back in the days because it wasn't just a couple weeks. Shows will last you the entire school year. So there's literally like 30 some shows each season. So it takes a while to get through them. And every show has that same fucking format where it's just like they just stay losing. But I guess that's how you keep the show going, because you go, they can't move on up to the east side because that's what the Jeffersons did, you know? So they had to stay in that lane of just like, all right, this show is actually sad as fuck. They had a lot of lessons, but there's still like issues with like misogyny and like, you know, what the ideas were back in the 70s versus now, that I'm like, it's interesting being woke and hearing this, but at the same time, they did target a lot of important things. So, I don't know, just watching Good Times as an adult it's so interesting, especially since that show is older than me and probably most of the listeners on here. It came out in 1974, but it was very funny. It's just interesting to watch the dynamics and the silliness of it. But that's how I've been kind of maintaining my stress levels. Good Times and Jim Beam. And, you know, going into another weekend, I have a gig all weekend. It's a 3-day gig, so I'm going to be busy with that. So I'm trying to get my, you know, my peace and energy together during the week, because I know this weekend is going to be crazy. I'm going to have to go right back to work on Monday. But that's what's going on with me. As far as what's going on in pop culture and life, I'm going to start with the most sad of the news. And I don't even know what to say about it, but the latest hashtag is now Terence Crutcher. I don't know much about the story because, truthfully, I'm numb. I'm very numb, you guys. Like, it seems like every other day, and that's not even an exaggeration, it seems like every other day, some unarmed black man is being shot by police, and nothing is done about it. Like, it's the same damn story, just different characters. So there's not much I can say except rest in peace. Like, it's another hashtag, and I want to honor him and his family, because it's senseless. It doesn't make sense that just because someone's black, there's this fear and we're killed for nothing. And from what I understand from headlines and things like that, his car broke down and he was trying to get help, and they shot him because they said he looked scary. That's all I got. I haven't read any details. I haven't watched the video because I'm just over it. It's just a new age form of lynching. But I did not want to not mention it because, that was someone's life. So rest in peace to Terence Crutcher. Shout out to his family. I'm just numb to this shit. Like, what do you do? What do you do? Like, this is happening all the time. You can actually go back and listen to the other 9 shows, and I'm sure I've talked about something like this with other people, because it happens all the time. So, yeah, that's really all I have on that one. But rest in peace. Yeah, like this shit is draining. It's so draining. Like, where can we go and live? Like, we're literally just being judged by how we look, the color of our skin. And there's nothing you can do to prevent being killed. There's no respectability in the world. There's no protocol, because if my goddamn car breaks down on the freeway and that puts me at risk for dying, you can't tell me racism doesn't exist. You can't tell me it's not still prominent. You can't tell me anything. Like, I'm numb. So, moving on to other things that are happening. Apparently there's a gas shortage or something happening. There was a leak that happened, and so a lot of states like Tennessee and Georgia are running out of gas until this is fixed. They're still pumping gas in my area of Georgia, so I'm kind of confused. I did have somebody curve me yesterday. I was like, oh, when are we going to hang out? They're like, well, with this gas shortage, I'm like, nigga, don't call me ever again. We're not going to play that game. But like in real talk, like, I'm like, wow, like there's people who are really, I guess they can't get around because there's no gas in the area. That's just not my ministry right now. Like, I just went to the gas station today and it was fine. It wasn't crowded or anything. But apparently there are some areas in Atlanta and Georgia where they are out of gas because even my GPS or Waze was like, oh, help people find affordable gas. And I'm like, okay, so this is real for some people. It's not with me. So yeah, there's a gas shortage, and niggas are using that as a reason not to go, handle business, like go to work and go pay their baby mamas the money they owe them, and jury duty. They can just say, there's a gas shortage. I can't reach you. But MARTA is still smarter if it's in your area. But whatever. Did you guys catch Power and Survivor's Remorse over the weekend? If you have not, please, if you don't watch any other episode, watch this past weekend Survivor's Remorse. When I tell you, Tashina Arnold's character, the mother, dropped a huge bomb this episode, and it changed the whole dynamic of the show. It made you look at the characters different, and I'm amazed at the writing. I'm amazed at the depth that they're giving each character. And it's like this last week, it like haunted me almost. I was like, damn, like I didn't expect that. And the way they tied it in with the other parts of the story, it was just a really good episode. Good writing. In fact, it's almost like a modern day Good Times because they talk about the issues that are going on in a real humorous way, but they definitely win a lot more on Survivor's Remorse. But episode was really good. Power was good for the sake of something that happened this week. I don't want to kill it for you, but it was good because something that we were waiting to happened, and it was pretty funny. But these last few episodes have been weird. I don't know if it's been a different director or what it is about the writing, but it seemed like it took a turn like 3 weeks ago, and it's just weird right now. But I'm gonna hold on. His Tariq, the guy who played Ghost Son, like he's getting on my damn nerves with these dumbass decisions. But we'll see where it goes. I think there's only like one episode left. I think that's it, and then that's the season finale. Because once again, shows now are short as fuck. So literally, you can have a season premiere, and in 3 weeks you'll have the season finale because budgets are real and shit costs too much money. So we get to watch shows for 1 month out of the year, and we just wait for the rest. But I digress on that one. But that was it as far as like what's going on that I've noticed, because yeah, it's the same shit. We watch the same television shows. You have one political thing like, gas leaks and shortages, and then you have one Black Lives Matters feature, which is Terence Crutcher this week. So that's what's going on. And as sad as it is, who knows what it will be next week. And it makes me sad. Like I don't want to be numb to it, but it's like, damn it, like I could really be killed and it'd be justified just for being black. That spooks the fuck out of me. It really does. And so I don't know, you just run out of words after a while, but that's what's going on. Once again, shout out to the Crutcher family and this crazy ass time, and something's got to give though. Something has got to give, but that's that. So let's get to the questions. It is, like I said, 10th episode. So we're going to do question and answers. I did receive quite a few questions, and we're going to do I got a little list here. You hear the papers turning? Yeah. I got about 10, 11 questions that I thought were appropriate and not digging in my motherfucking business too much. So those are the ones we're going to go with. In no particular order. I kind of just wrote them down as they came. So we'll see how it goes. there's a little bit of everything on here, so I'm kind of excited. I didn't pre-prepare. I wanted it to be organic, so please don't mind if I have to, like, sit and think about something for a minute, or have my stream of consciousness. We can just build this together. I thought it would be fun that way, because you don't want to do too much pre-planning. But yeah. So number one, I'm gonna skip names because I don't know you guys' lives, and I don't know, like, if you're spilling any unnecessary tea. So I'll just leave names out and just read the questions. You know who you are, and that works for me. So the first question: what goes on behind your pre-production before you deliver to the masses? Do you feel any pressure or stress hosting solo? Okay, so that's two questions in one. So, pre-production for me with the podcast, I typically think about what happened between the last podcast and the current one. Typically on Tuesdays, I start kind of looking at, like what's popular. And then I also, over the weekend, if anything happens, I'll put it in my notes section in my phone and, like, okay, talk about this. If I have, like, any crazy ass thoughts, that's what usually turns into the table topic. So if I have, like, something that happens to me or something that I'm curious about, I note it and say, okay, that's what the next show is going to be about. That's what I'm going to talk about. A lot of times it's something personal that's happening, or what I'll do is, if it's something that I'm going to post on Facebook, I refrain, and I'm like, you know what, I'll save that for the podcast. So whatever happens in between podcasts, whatever's really, really popular, like if something is like showing up on my Facebook timeline over and over and over and over and over again, chances are it's probably going to be talked about because it's relevant at that moment. And then table topics are typical things that, I just think about from my daily interactions and stuff like that. As far as anxiety and stress with hosting solo, there's no stress with it because I'm used to the solo route with everything. I've tried team projects quite a few times and it never worked out for me. And that could totally be my issue, as I am the common denominator. But I like doing things solo because I don't have to wait on anyone. One thing I hate doing is waiting. I don't, especially when it has to do with my projects. I would love to have guests on the show, but I also don't want to deal with, plans falling through and schedules and stuff like that. It's so much easier for me to hop on this mic, edit it, and put it up than having to worry about someone else's schedule and mess ups and needs and stuff like that. So I actually enjoy doing it solo. Anxiety, there's always a little bit of anxiety when I'm recording because, sometimes I can have, like, I guess, diarrhea of the mouth, and I'm not someone who likes to re-record shit, so I'll just let it be. So I always pray that I say things right the first time because I'm like, I'm not gonna re-record that shit. Like, I'm just gonna let it be. So there's always that kind of anxiety of, like, being like, okay, that was completely wrong. In fact, there was, like, one podcast that I did that I actually, to this day, actually don't really like at all. I didn't like my energy on it at all. And so I don't okay, so just to explain this, with anything that I create it, I go through it once for mistakes and errors and just to make sure it sounds decent. I put it up, and then I might listen to it one other time once it's up on, like, iTunes and stuff to make sure that it's, like, playing correctly. And then I leave it alone. Like, I don't ever revisit. So I just don't. It's one of the things that I do. So with like a particular show, I just didn't like it, and I don't think I'll ever revisit it. But I know I was just like, I don't like my energy. It was just something that was weird about it, and I don't think I presented things like I wanted to. It was still a decent show, and I got good feedback, but I just didn't like it. And yeah, energy is very important to me, and I don't like giving off certain types of energy. And then on that one, it just didn't feel right. But I haven't had any other regrets like that one, so it's cool. But all that to say is, I like doing things solo. My pre-production is pretty simple. I tend to record on Tuesday nights or on Tuesdays. That way I can, have a chance to listen to things and get it up by Wednesday. So that's a little behind the scenes info for you. So when I say happy Wednesday, it's probably Tuesday when I'm recording it, but that's how, these things work, pre-production. But that's about it. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you so much for submitting. Turning the pages. All right, number 3. This is a lengthy question, so bear with me while I read it. I'm going to read it verbatim just so we can all kind of decompress it at once. So it looks like a relationship question, so that looks fun too. Give me 1 second. All right, cool. So what do you do if you've expressed to the person you're with that you should live separate after already cohabitating too soon? Okay. Even just temporarily, while we both evaluate our feelings about our short-term relationship. Okay. Is it selfish or just a mature decision to stop living together when it becomes more and more toxic with each day? Okay, so this is okay. It's kind of a loaded question, but yeah, let's go into this. I want to hit that last line first because I feel like that's your answer right there. Is it selfish or just a mature decision to stop living together when it becomes more and more toxic each day? Listen, if any relationship that you have is toxic, fuck just moving out and living separately in that shit. Like, that's just my opinion. If maybe, I don't know if that's the words you meant to use, but if it's toxic, fuck that relationship. Goodbye. Like if y'all fighting and crazy shit like that, yeah, you might need to just reevaluate the entire relationship, not just living together. But that just stood out to me first. The first part, what do you do if you've expressed to the person you're with that you should live together? Okay, start making moves. Like, shit happens. People make decisions. I know how infatuation works. It makes you do things quickly, I mean, you in general. I don't know you as a person, so I don't know like what your intentions were. But sometimes we move too fast and things happen and we end up living with people sooner than we should. So shit happens, but the fact that you've recognized that there's already an issue and stuff like that, that's a good sign. It means you're aware of the relationship. And if it's eating away at your peace, and if it's eating away at you, then yeah, you were right to express like, okay, we need to live separately. Now, I also can understand where your partner can be like, well, what the fuck? We already live together. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you reneging on this? They'll start thinking maybe that you probably want to cheat or, you want to, mess around and do all this crazy stuff. It's something that you're hiding from them. When in reality, it probably just comes down to just wanting your own space. I have hella follow-up questions like, do you guys live like in a 1-bedroom or a house or a condo? Is it like a situation where you guys are always under each other? Because that would drive anybody crazy. We all need our space. We all need time alone. So if you're like in a small space with one other person all the goddamn time, that would drive anybody mad. So I totally empathize because I've been there. And as someone who lives solo now, I don't know when I'll ever be okay with living with someone again. Like, I will have to be forced into it because I love living alone. I love having my own time. I love being able to come and go as I please. I love all of that. And even if, should I get in a relationship, I'm going to want to keep my separate space for as long as I possibly can. And it's not on some, because you can't trust me, or it's because I want, to, betray you. But it's more or less, I just like my motherfucking space. I like to be able to clear my head. I don't want to fight over a motherfucking thermostat. I don't want to fight over bills. I want to just say, this is my shit. I can do what I want. I don't have to ask permission for certain guests to come over. I can, do whatever. It's just, there's peace in that. Anytime you share space, anytime you share space, I don't know why I do that. Anytime you share space, you lose that peace. And so, yeah. If you already expressed it to this person that you want to live separately, take action. you have to take action. Go ahead and get that roommate release, or maybe you got to move out. Depending on whose place it is, if you guys got it together, be fair and say, okay, I'm giving you, 90 days, and then you're gonna live in separate places. Be fair about it. Don't leave the other person hanging. But if you feel that's what it takes, that's what you need to do, because what you don't want to do is build resentment in your relationship. So start making a point to go ahead and sever that tie. But if the relationship is toxic, you might need to just go ahead and just say, fuck it, this relationship ain't gonna work out. Like, and that's the honest to God thing. You also put, even if it's just temporary, while we both evaluate our feelings about the short-term relationship. That particular line sounds like BS to me. And that's not an attack on you or anything like that, but it just sounds like BS, because I know what it's like to like live with somebody and be like, oh yeah, maybe we should live separately and just, evaluate things. A lot of times that means, nah, I'm trying to get the fuck away from you, and then I can go ghost and let's just end this shit. It's a lot easier to end shit when you're separate, but when you live together, that shit's hard as fuck. So I feel like that's kind of like might be a cop out, because if you already think the relationship is toxic and you want to reevaluate, you might want to just go ahead and end it. And it's okay. Like, relationships will end. People find out they're not the right fit, especially if you cohabitate too soon. And if you jump into things too quickly, you didn't really get to know the person. And now that you got to know them and things feel toxic and, you need to reevaluate, it might be time to just bounce. And yeah, that's all I can say about that. I hope that answers the question. But that's my opinion. Yeah. No one should be in anything that they don't want to be in. And I don't think it's selfish. It's self-full. It's so full. You're looking out for your peace. You're looking out for, your mental health. And if you can't be yourself in your own space, what the fuck is the point? I don't get it. Next question. What is your worst fear? All right. My worst fear, I would have to say, well, currently and what it has been, it would be living a life with like none of my dreams realized. Like, I have certain goals and I have things in my mind that I have to achieve while I'm on this earth. And if I have to leave this earth without accomplishing or seeing one of my dreams come true, that's a fear of mine. Like, that freaks me out. My worst fear used to be my parents passing, but guess what? They both passed in 2012. So, yeah, once you hit it, you're like, well, there goes that. And if anything, it gave me a backbone and it gave me more of a zest for life, because I'm like, well, damn, my biggest fear has already happened and I survived it. So, shit, look at me. But yeah, though, that would be it. Not having my dream kind of be seen by me with my own eyes and come to life and stuff like that. That's one of my worst fears. Next question. Describe your worst date. My God. Okay. I've had a couple of bad dates. I'll say my worst date was, okay, in 2012 when I first moved to Atlanta. I met this guy online. I don't remember, it was on one of the apps, I'm sure it had to be, but I just got to Atlanta. We had just moved into our place. I was staying with my cousin. We got a place together in Dunwoody. And so this guy was like, oh, I want to take you out. I want to do this, this, another. I'm like, okay, cool. That's totally fine. So he's like, great. And so he was like, I'll pick you up at 8. Let me get dressed or whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. So we decided to go to Cafe Intermezzo. And it was like right next door to the place I was in. So it was perfect. I was like, cool. So, shit go down, I could just come right back home, because he was going to pick me up or whatever. I'm like, cool. So this guy takes forever to get to me. Like, I'm talking like it was almost 10 o'clock when he was finally on his way. And he kept kind of saying, oh, I'm getting tied up with this. I'm getting tied up with this. And so I was kind of getting frustrated just waiting on him. You know, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this is annoying. Like, and I was hungry. That's what it was. Like, he hit me up when I was about to eat anyway. And then he was like, oh no, let's go to dinner. So I held off. So I obviously was irritated because I'm like, nigga, like I could have ate 3 hours ago. So he comes at 10 o'clock and he picks me up. And I get in the car, and this motherfucker has on athletic shorts and like a Nike t-shirt and like a chain. And I'm like, what fucking Nelly video did you watch from 2002 that made you wear this motherfucking outfit? And then on top of that, Cafe Intermezzo, I mean, it's not like fine dining, but it's also not really lax either. Like, I wouldn't wear athletic shorts there. So I'm kind of like, you know, dressed in like something nice, you know, for a date situation. Anyway, so he picks me up and I'm kind of like weirded out by it. I'm like, nigga, you took all this time. And I don't even think he said sorry about being late. And that's one thing that annoys me. Don't inconvenience me and not be apologetic about it. Like, that means you don't respect my fucking time. But whatever. So he didn't say anything about it, but he just kind of like rambles. And so we go to Cafe Intermezzo and we sit down and we just start kind of talking about random ass shit. And I grasped that he was kind of like off. Like, something about it wasn't weird. And from what I gathered, he was that guy who was probably a nerd all the way through like school, but because he was really, really smart, he ended up getting like a really, really good job so he can like throw around money. And he appeared to be looking for like a trophy boy. And I damn sure wasn't going to be it because I don't roll like that. Like, you can't buy me. So I gathered that really quickly, how he was just like, oh yeah, get what you want. I got this, da-da-da-da, this and the other. And then he started talking about his job and all the power he had at his job. And oh yeah, I'm in control. I'm the youngest guy here. And I'm already kind of like, I'm number one, still irritated that he was late as fuck. Number two, he has on this goddamn fucking Nike collection outfit on the first date, and we're at the Cafe Intermezzo, and then he's just bragging too fucking much. So I'm like, okay, this nigga's arrogant. I can't do it. So then he somehow ties in a conversation about like condom sizes and how, you know, he can't fit certain condoms. I'm like, okay, nigga, like, why are you doing it? Like, why are you overcompensating? So I don't know what happened in the next few minutes because either he felt my energy was off or coincidentally something happened, but he ended up getting a phone call. And during this time, you know, we ordered our food. So he gets a phone call and then he's just like, oh, do you mind if we get the food to go? I just have this emergency that's happening. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now, dude? Like, are you kidding me? So you came and picked me up. You made me wait all this goddamn time for us to pretty much order fucking takeout. I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go home because I think he wanted me to be like, oh, let's like, we'll take the food to go and just come on me right quick to do something. And I'm like, no, just take me home. It's cool. Like, just like seriously. So I take my motherfucking to-go box home, and I'm literally eating it on my desk at home. And my cousin comes in the room. She was like, didn't you go on a date? I was like, I don't know if that's what you would fucking call it. It was just terrible. Like, it was just fucking terrible. He reached out like a week later, and I think I like curved him or something. And I'm just like, nah, I'm good. It was just, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was that but a waste of time? Like, it was such a drag. So I was back home like at 11 p.m. So that had to be one of my worst dates. I feel like I want to give a bonus story because there was another situation that I think was interesting. There was this other guy who came out of nowhere like in 2011. Yeah, it was like 2011. And he, I guess he like followed me on Twitter or some shit. And, you know, he slid in the DMs and he was an older guy. And I was like, okay, this guy is cool. We were just kind of just chatting or whatever, and it just, I felt like I thought there was like some kind of chemistry. It was like, there was a comfort there, cool. And so we were just like, just talking on the phone, and he told me like that he lived bi-coastal, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. He's like, yeah, my job has me here and there, blah blah blah. I'm like, okay. He's like, but I would love to take you out when I get to LA, and I'm like, okay, shit, why not? Now, on that first fucking call, I mentioned to him that, I was like, oh yeah, there's this Tony Braxton show I'm trying to go to, blah, 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 blah. So our first date, he tells me like he schedules it the same day, and I'm like kind of oblivious to it because I didn't end up getting tickets to it. And he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go to the Tony Braxton show. And I'm like, whoa, like seriously? Like he bought tickets and all this shit. I'm like, oh shit. But while I was like, this is dope, I was kind of thrown off by it. I was like, okay, that's kind of a lofty first date. I was like, and I knew he was an older guy, so I was like, well, he probably got it, but I just felt weird. I'm like, it felt pricey for a first date to me. So, and I tried to push back, but he was like, no, I already got the tickets. Don't do this. Like, no, it's cool. Don't worry about it. I want to treat you, take you on a real first date, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. So I go on this date. We go to fucking Fleming's, which is a steakhouse. Is it a steakhouse? It's an expensive ass restaurant. I would never go to Fleming's because that shit's too damn expensive. So we go there, and we're having like filet mignon and shit, and we're like the stuff, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is too much for a first fucking date. And I'm sitting here like, am I supposed to put out tonight? Because I didn't really plan on doing that, and I'm not that kind of motherfucker. Like I'm like, like I just, I was like, okay, this is crazy as fuck. So we go to Fleming's, and then he knows like the people there, so they're like hooking it up and bringing all this fucking expensive ass food out. I'm like, okay, whatever. So we go to the show, and then we're like row 3 in the center, and then my best friend was there, Garrick, and Garrick is texting me like, who the fuck is this old ass man you with? And so he and I are texting, and I'm telling him about the night. I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of uncomfortable because this man has spent so much money tonight, and it just feels like a lot of pressure. It was just weird for me, and I'm like, I'm trying to enjoy it, but I just felt weird. I'm like, this is an expensive ass first fucking date. So anyway, we have this date. The show was cool. Tony Braxton, I love Tony Braxton, but I remember that show being kind of in disarray because they had a lot of technical issues, which weren't her fault. But it was cool. Babyface opened up for her. It was like a little jazz show situation. So I remember the show being good. He took me home, no problems, no sex, no nothing. Cool. Like it was like cool. But this is where shit kind of changed. Now he's sending me these awkward ass videos like during the week. And so the first couple videos, I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm not gonna trip. Like the first one was like, oh, thinking of you. And it's like to Michael Jackson's Rock With You. And he's like making these videos where he's in the videos and he's like smiling and singing. Kind of like what people do now on fucking Snapchat, where you're just singing and shit. But he was doing this in 2011, just sending them to me to my phone, and he's just like, just singing, and there's like lyrics on the screen. I'm like, okay, whatever. But then I was getting them like 4 and 5 times a day, so the shit got kind of weird, and it was funny too. So I was literally forwarding these to my friends, like, what the fuck is this about? And then his language started kind of changing, and he kind of started talking to me like differently, and it just got really, really disrespectful. I don't remember what the disconnect was, but I know that I eventually was like, okay, he got really, really pushy one day and kind of alluded to, like, okay, when you let me fuck since I did all this stuff for you. And I'm like, see, I knew that was happening. And I was like, you know what? No. And I ended up kind of cutting ties with it. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to talk to him. Now, this is before iPhone had the block feature. So he was still like texting me, and this man sang on my voicemail. He fucking offered to pay my rent. He offered to do like, it was just crazy. He just sent me all these crazy ass text messages and all these crazy ass voicemails. And then like the last message he sent to me was like, "Oh, karma's a bitch, and I'd watch myself if I were you." And yeah, it just didn't end well, like at all. It was really weird. So that would be like part two to my second worst date, because it led to all that bullshit. Yeah, I attract the crazies. I certainly attract the crazies. So, yeah, that was that story. I think I still have the voicemail that he left, because there was one where he was literally singing to me, and it cracks me the fuck up because he put on the Boys and Men baritone voice, like, "Hey, baby." Da, 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 da. I was like, this is team too much. I can't do it. But that was a weird situation. So that goes in the worst date category as well. Moving on. What were you like in high school? Nothing like I am now, to be honest with you. Well, that's not completely true. In high school, I was of course dealing with my sexuality. And so that meant having a crush on like people that were my friends. I remember like I had like two major crushes in high school, and they literally last like one lasted like 2 years and the other one lasted the second 2 years, and they were both like really cool friends of mine in high school. And of course, me being so close with them was because I was like crushing on them. I remember I was just lost. I went to a predominantly white school, and the thing about white masculinity, it's not under the same pressure as like black masculinity or people of color in general. Like white guys are the most confusing people ever when you're around them. And me, being gay, I didn't know who was gay and who wasn't, because white guys do a lot of quote unquote gay shit. Like you have no idea. Like just they find fun in nudity and humping and just circle jerks and all kind of crazy shit, and they're still straight because they don't have those issues. Whereas like black people, you have the whole side eye thing, like, nigga, everything's gay. Oh, pass me that sausage, no homo. Oh, that's a dope ass shirt, no homo. Like it's just day and night. So high school was very confusing for me, but I think I played it well. I did have a certain level of I think straight respectability. I played the lines. I wore the baggy clothes or what was trendy. I tried to be cool with everyone. I wouldn't say I was popular, but by being black and also being, I danced in high school like I still do now. Like I used to dance all the time, so I was known as the dancer. Just shucking and jiving at the white school. It was easy. I danced and there was a circle around me. So high school was just building things up, but I think I was still very insecure all the way through high school. I was very insecure in high school. It wasn't until I got out of high school and started kind of dating that I started kind of saying like, okay, maybe I am handsome, or maybe I am attracted to people, because I didn't feel that way in high school. I felt, I guess, ignored in a way. It was weird. High school was weird, and I had some other things that happened my senior year that I've talked about before, like the reparative therapy and all that shit. So I was different. I wasn't who I am now. I wasn't outspoken at all. I always had a sense of humor, but I think I was a people pleaser. But I was a people pleaser well into my 20s, and then something just clicked when my parents passed, and I was like, nah, fuck that. And my opinions became, I guess, more of my perspective and what I thought and felt. But I was definitely not that guy in high school. Very, not docile, but I blended in. That was my goal. I wanted to blend in. I wanted to be accepted. There were always rumors about me being gay, but I didn't confirm it with anybody until senior year. And then it was fucking fair game. Yep. And that's who I was in high school. But yeah, it wasn't a bad experience. It wasn't bad at all. All right. What was your worst dating experience? Okay, now this question sounds a lot like the question I asked, which was describe your worst date, and I gave you two of them. But my worst dating experience, I feel like I can add another one because I've done a lot of dating and I've had a lot of experiences. And when you say worst dating experience, oh, this is an easy one. When I was 19 years old, and fast. Oh, just fast. Like I just remember like how oh my God. So me and some friends went to Long Beach Pride, which is like summer every year. And it was so much fun back then because I was 19. I mean, there's gonna be a bunch of gay guys there, blah blah blah. Anyway, I go, and I remember everything I had on that day. I had on fucking brown cargo pants and like a black tank top, and my drawers was out, just giving you all types of young versatile bottom shit. I was doing the most at 19. So yeah, so I'm at Long Beach Pride and I'm dancing, whatever, blah blah. So there's this guy there who's like tall, he had like the curly hair, super cute, like I'm like super attracted to him. And it's funny because now I'd never be attracted to this guy, but that's what I was attracted to then. And it cracks me up like how our tastes change over time. But he was just like a pretty boy to me. And I was like, oh my God. So we, locked eyes and shit like that. And, it was like, it was like one of those things like, oh shit, like he's cute. He thinks I'm cute. So of course we're exchanging numbers and we're good. So we ended up kind of kicking it like at Long Beach Pride that whole day. And my best friend Charles was with me. Me and Charles have been friends since we were 18. And this was early in our friendship. So Charles was with me. And then that night, I remember we went to Denny's, and it was like four of us because it was the guy that I met and he had his friend there. And so all four of us went out. So we're kind of hitting it off or whatever. And I'm like, oh, this guy's really, really cool. So I'm like, cool. So the very next day, he hits me up like, hey, I want to see you. Let's hang out. Cool. So he did not drive at the time, but the thing that I look at now is we were the same age. We were 19. A lot of people didn't have cars. I was lucky enough to have one. So I went and picked him up, and I believe we went to the movies, and that was super cool. We held hands and, we kissed, and I'm like, oh, this guy is super sweet. Like, oh, he's so like, it was just like, oh, like it was dope. And it was like that for like a couple weeks. Like it was a couple weeks. But I did notice that he had a lot of like triggers. I noticed that number one, I felt like he introduced me to his family way too quick. And I was like, nigga, like already? Okay, because mind you, at this time, had I come out to my mom yet? I had not come out to my mom yet, like officially. Or did I? Fuck. I don't remember. Wait. It was August of... See, stream of consciousness right now. I feel like, because the story I'm going to tell, I feel like I had already told my mom because she was already concerned about me. Cool. So yeah, I think my mom knew. So I was out, but it was still kind of weird for me to meet other people and meet their families. And so I met his family like literally like the first week or second week. He introduced me to his grandmother, his sister, some cousins, and like, yeah, his grandfather or whatever. So I was like, okay, whatever. And they all kept saying, oh, you're the perfect guy for him. Like you have the right demeanor. Like he needs someone like you. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, okay. It was just really weird. And so one day we were like out or something. I think we had a disagreement or something. And then he lost it. Like temper, like it was just the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. And I was like, okay, this nigga has issues. Like he's lightweight fucking crazy. And yeah, but once again, 19, I'm like, okay, I'll give it a pass. I'm not concerned about it, but there's certainly something off about him. And then at the time, like, it was never a situation where we were like, official, like, oh, let's be in a relationship. Like, we were just kind of just like hanging out, chilling, whatever. So of course I'm still talking to other guys and doing my thing. So I remember I went to the movies with this other guy one night, and yeah, went to the movies, chilled, whatever, and then that was that. And so I saw him the next day, and then we decided to go. Why did I have so much fucking free time? Let me think about this shit. It was summer. Okay, it was summer. I think I was working. I think that, no, that was the summer that I didn't have a job. That was the summer I didn't have it. Because I'm like, God damn, I had a lot of free time. Shit. But I was in school, so, you know, you got those good old refund checks. So, you know, I had some money. But yeah, I wasn't working at that time. So we hung out. We hung out that next day. And then I remember, I don't know how. I think I ran into the bank or something. But while I was in the bank or whatever, he went through my phone. And then he saw that I went to the movies with this guy the night before. And he like goes the fuck off. And this time I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, this is getting a little crazy. He's cussing me out, and he's in my face, and he's really just like I'm like, is this thing really gonna try to hit me or some shit? And then he kind of like he just like, because he's driving at this point, and oddly enough, he's driving my car. Once again, 19, just stupid. Okay. Anyway, he's driving my car. So I remember him just like speeding, like, oh, we need like, I should just fuck you up and this and other. It was just very volatile, and he like we're at the mall, he's starting to throw me over the banister. It was just weird. Like I was like, this nigga's crazy. So at this point, I'm like, all right, I got to get rid of this dude. Like I can't do this. This isn't gonna work for me. So I'm already on post, but I don't want to set him off. So we end up going to another friend's house, and the friend like talks him down or some shit. And he's just like, oh no, you know, he just really cares about you. And I'm like, but nigga, it's only been like 2 weeks. I don't get it. But whatever. So he talks him down, but in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I gotta get rid of this dude. Like I really gotta get rid of this dude. So, it wasn't long before I finally was like, yeah, we got into another argument over some stupid shit. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. Like, let's just sever ties. Like, let's just stop this shit, because I just feel like no, I'm good. He's like, oh, you think you're gonna break up with me? You think you gonna do this? I'm like, what? And he's like, I'll show your ass. And he literally drove to my motherfucking house, and he threw a brick at my fucking door of my car. And my mother was home because I lived at home at the time. And like, it wasn't long before that I came out to her. I'm just trying to figure out the timeline. But she was, you know, when I first told her about it, she was concerned about everything. You know, she was afraid because she didn't understand it. So this is her first experience of me dating some guy, and a brick is being thrown at my car. So she goes out, and she was doing some old like Columbo MacGyver shit. She goes out there with a glove, and she picks up the rock. She's like, we might need this. And so I can see the fear in her face. Like, who is this guy, Kevin? Like, I'm concerned. Like I'm so concerned. Like, this is not good. Like, do we need to go to the police station? Do we need to get a restraining order? This is not, like, she's just like, I can't have this. Like, no, like, she's freaking out. And so I'm like, fuck, this dude is crazy. And so from that point forward, he keeps calling me, and he's like, I'm coming to your house, and you better fucking come outside. And I'm like, I'm not coming outside. He's like, if you don't fucking come outside, you're going to regret it. I'm like, oh my God. And then he never showed up, thank God. But I noticed that he disappeared, like, completely. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck happened, but I'm glad he disappeared. But I found out that he was eventually arrested for Grand Theft Auto. So that took care of that. But yeah, that nigga was crazy. That was probably my worst dating experience, because I don't, you know, I can't, yeah, some people just got to get them issues handled, but shit was crazy. Shit was absolutely crazy. Yes, this is so revealing, I guess. But yeah. I won't say number. The next question. I know you say you are a Brandy fan. What is your favorite Brandy song? Oh, that's difficult. I want to say Sitting Up in My Room, because when that song comes on, I get this really crazy nostalgia, and it makes me want to cry. Like, because it's just, I remember how enamored I was with that song, with her, that time period. I can vividly see everything when that song comes on, and I think that might be my favorite. But Full Moon is my favorite album by Brandy. So I feel like I gotta think about it a little bit longer, because I feel like one of my favorites might be on that album. Because When You Touch Me and Like This and Nothing, Apart, that damn album is so good. But I will go ahead and say Sit Up in My Room, because that was first to my mind. So yeah, Sitting Up in My Room will be my favorite Brandy song. Whew, such a jam. I wish her and Babyface did more work together, because that song was so good. But, whatever. Next question. Do you prefer to be dominant or submissive in a relationship? I prefer to be both. I don't like roles. I don't like gender roles. I used to like, someone to kind of lead, because I can be kind of like all over the place. But now, especially after my last relationship, it's important to be both, because sometimes you need to lead and sometimes you need to follow, especially in a relationship. There's times where you have to kind of trade off and compromise. And I don't believe one thing should belong to one person. I think everything should be equal. Bills, chores, shit, sex, all that shit. Like, it should be about pleasing each other. And the thing I don't like about the word submissive is the whole idea that literally you're submitting yourself, and you're literally just someone, you're submitting to somebody else's pleasure. And that sure the fuck ain't me. If you get a nut, I get a nut. It's just how life works. If I don't get a nut, you don't get a nut. Like, it's not, we're not playing that game. So I prefer it to be equal. I prefer we both have our times to, push our testosterone, and we have times to just, sit back and just let things go. It's just about being well-rounded and not stuck on gender roles that society has given us, especially in gay relationships. Fuck that shit. I don't do that heteronormative shit. It doesn't make any sense, but whatever. I think I'm going to say whatever in between every question. I just caught that. So number 10, what is your favorite era of music by decade? I would have to say it would have to be the 90s. Yeah, the 90s had the best music. And I think it's because you got all the kinks out from the 70s and 80s, and then you started getting into that real classical, non-dated sound. There are so many songs from the 90s that can play now and just make you feel away, make you feel good. Like, anytime I'm having a bad day, 90s music gets me right on together. It was my favorite time. Early 2000s, I'm talking like 2005 and below, there was some good stuff in there too. There was some good stuff in there, but 90s certainly were my favorites. Particularly, now I want to give it a time period. I feel like from 90 to 96, shit was really, really good. Like, really, 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 really good. And then, with the change of producers like Timbaland and Pharrell and all them kind of appearing, music started changing around 96, 97. And then that's what pushed us into the millennium. But, yeah, 90s was my favorite era. Absolutely. For like everything, pop, R&B, rap, all of that shit. Like, it was amazing. Next question. What are your thoughts on depression? Oh, okay. Depression is a real thing. And I feel like we, especially Black people, need to embrace it more and recognize symptoms in other people and recognize when there's a call out for help. There's somebody in my family who deals with depression a lot, and they go to Facebook and they talk about it all the time. And I'm trying to give away too many details, but some tragic things happen to this person and they're having a hard time dealing with it. And they'll post like, you know what, I'm really depressed right now. They'll say that. And then I will look at the comments of people in my family just saying, oh, you know, it's all in your head and just, you know, turn to Jesus and, you know, pray, pray, pray. It'll get better. But it's in your head. And I had a fucking problem with that. I hated those comments. I hated, number one, that it's all in your head. You can just turn it off because it's like the same shit that people tell you when they find out you're gay. Oh, you know, it's just a phase. It's just no, it's not. And depression is not just in your head. I mean, yes, it's a mental thing, but you can't just turn it off. You can't just say, okay, I'm not going to be depressed today. Like, not one person said, you should have therapy. You should seek therapy. You should talk to somebody. And so I actually inboxed that person. I was like, I'm here for you and I empathize with you. And I think you should try therapy. You should talk to somebody. And in the interim, if you need to talk to me, you can talk to me. I won't tell you what's in your head. I won't even tell you to pray on it because I feel like action needs to be done. We can't just keep sweeping things under the rug and then putting the Jesus stamp on it and thinking it's gonna go away because it doesn't. You're just repressing it and you're suppressing it. And it's just, you know. But depression is real, and if you struggle with it, don't feel bad about it. I say embrace it. Be self-aware and talk to somebody, get help for it. You know, you can definitely come out of it, but it's more than just a mindset. Like, things happen to us. Life is hard and, you know, tragic things happen all the time. And sometimes we need an outside source to help us get through it. So yeah. And those are my thoughts on depression. It's a real thing. And I think we're hitting to, was that all the questions? I think those are all the questions, guys. There was another one that they sent it to me in the form of a meme. I can answer it quickly. It was a picture of two pills, and one said, you have the option of getting $20 million, but you have to be 5 years older. And then the other pill was you get to start your life over from scratch. Which one would you choose? I would choose to be 5 years older and get that $20 million tax free because I'm okay with being 35 and rich. But what I don't want to do is be a fucking kid again. I hated being a kid. Like, I have nostalgia of when, you know, I didn't have no bills, but I feel like I was always an old soul and always ahead of my time. So I hated being like told what to do. I didn't like authority. I felt like adults were stupid. I really did. There were literally adults that I felt were dumb and I was a kid. I'm like, you're so fucking stupid. Like, all you did was get old, but you've learned nothing. So I wouldn't want to be a kid. Kids are really, really mean. I damn sure wouldn't want to be a kid in today's society with social media and bullying. Fuck no. So I would take the pill on the left and get that, you know, $20 million tax free and be 35. I'd be okay with that because, yeah. So that would be my choice. But that is that. That was the 10th episode, guys. That is the questions and answers. We'll do that again. I don't know when, maybe every 10th episode. So maybe on 20, we'll do another question and answers. And you guys can actually send me more questions and we can have a little bit more fun with it. But that was a cool first run. I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys next week. Peace out. Remember, share this. Leave your comments, subscribe, and, you know, build the following. I appreciate you all, though. This has been The Outline. Have a great week.